Back to Guardians Crusade one last time. Last time we pretty much accomplished everything, obtained all the holy armour and all the living toys, so story-wise all that's left is the end of the game. But first, as part of my 100%, I'm going to max out the remaining item count and level myself as high as I can bear to. But first I have to figure out the best place to farm money, as my previous grinding spot was wiped off the face of the planet. I look up what little information I can find to discover that there are certain spots only reached by flying where enemies are always set to a higher level than you. But this turns out to not be very efficient at all, as this means these enemies take forever to kill and they don't even give me enough XP to make it worth it. There's enemies I can kill in 1 or 2 hits that grant more than that. In the end I decide to try the Nord Temple, as I can kill the enemies quickly and it gives rewards comparable to or maybe even above God's Tower. When my money is maxed out, Knight and Baby are at level 196. It takes me around 50 to 60 minutes per money maxing cycle and gets me about 20 levels each time. Now for a World Tour spending spree. First is Isten, since it's the closest place I haven't maxed out all the items in. I max out Angel's Tear, Mind Berry, Freedom Root, Sickweed, Rotten Weed, Toadstool, Short Sword, Long Sword, Copper Sword, Iron Sword, Leather Armour, Padded Armour, Studded Armour, Iron Armour, Wood Shield, Wicker Shield, Copper Shield, Iron Shield, and the rest gets me up to 82 Rings of Calm. Next grind gets them both to level 217. Back to Isten, I max out the Ring of Calm and get myself 82 Freedom Rings. My next grind has Knight at level 240 and Baby at level 239. Back to Isten to get those last 18 Freedom Rings. Next place is Carmarthen, where I max out the Wooden Cross, Dragon Sword, Scorpion Sword, Dwarf Sword, Dragon Armour, and get 46 Scorpion Plates before I run out. Another hour in the Nord Temple and Knight is at level 260 while Baby is level 259. Back to Carmarthen, I max out Scorpion Plate, Dwarven Mail, Roman Armour, Dragon Shield, Scorpion Shield, Dwarven Shield and just enough to get up to 4 Zeus's Shield. Another grind gets both of them to level 280. To Carmarthen once again to max out Zeus's Shield. That's this place bought out. Next is Den Heldar. I max out Jousting Sword and Cobra Sword, then get myself 8 Swords of Ra. Next recording has Knight at level 301 and Baby at level 300. I max out the Sword of Ra and the Kuldian Sword, then get 37 Jousting Armours. My next grinding session gets both party members to level 321. I max out Jousting Armour, Cobra Armour and can afford 86 Armours of Ra before I run out. When I make it all back again, Knight is level 342 and Baby is level 341. Knight has also maxed out the HP stat at 32,767. I max out Armour of Ra, Kuldian Armour and Jousting Shield and get 28 Cobra Shields with what was left over. My 10th money maxing session has the party at level 362. I max out Cobra Shield, Shield of Ra and buy 60 Kuldian Shield with the leftovers. By the way, those 22 Leopard Shields were enemy drops from my grinds in God's Tower last episode. Level 383 for Knight and level 382 for Baby next time. I finish off Den Heldar by maxing out Kuldian Shields. Next revisit is Triscan. First the Flower Girl to max out both the Lily and the Rose. Then in the shops I max out the Eagle Sword and run out after 40 Crusader Swords. Next time both of them are at level 403. I max out Crusader Swords and get 57 Crusher Swords. Level 424 for Knight and 423 for Baby. I max out Hawk Sword, Crusher Sword and get 85 Eagle Plates. Next time they're both at level 444. I max out Eagle Plate and Crusader Armour. The leftover gets me 62 Hawk Armours. Level 464 next time for both of them. I max out Hawk Armour, Chainmail and buy 27 Eagle Shields with what's left. Knight reaches level 485 and Baby level 484. I max out Eagle Shield and Crusader Shield, ending with 13 Hawk Shields. Next level 505 for both of them. I max out Hawk Shield and buy 75 Granite Shields. Another hour and Knight is level 526 while Baby is level 525. I max out Granite Shield, Cleaver Sword and buy 22 Black Swords with the leftover. Knight gets to level 546 and Baby level 545. I max out Black Sword and get 55 Celtic Swords. We're getting into the expensive stuff, so things are really gonna slow down now. Next time Knight is level 567 and Baby is 566. I max out Celtic Swords and buy 79 Demon Swords. Then I get Knight to level 587 and Baby to 586. I max Demon Sword and Bar Mail and get 19 Black Plates with what's left. Both of them then reach level 607. I am over 12 times the average level for finishing this game. I max out Black Plate and buy 52 Celtic Plates. Knight level 628 and Baby level 627. I max out Celtic plates and buy 76 leopard armors, then both of them are level 648. That's 20 million XP each there. I max out leopard armor and marble shield and buy 16 black shields. Knight gets to level 669 and Baby to level 668. I max out black shield and buy 49 Celtic shields. Level 689 next for both of them. I max Celtic shield and buy 94 leopard shields. Next recording starts with Knight at level 710 and Baby level 709. I can then buy the last 6 leopard shields and max out every item from Triscan. It took gaining 327 levels just for this place. I next fly over to Garum and max out the Royal Sword, and with what's left get 7 Artesian Swords. Then they're both level 730. I max out Artesian Sword and get my count of Onyx Swords to 14. Knight reaches level 751 and Baby level 750. I max out Onyx Sword and buy 16 Royal Armors. My 30th money maxing session gets both of them to level 771. I max out Royal Armor and buy 26 Artesian Armors. Next Knight is level 792 and Baby level 791. I max Artesian Armor and buy 26 Onyx Armors, then they both reach level 812. I max Onyx Armor and buy 25 Royal Shields. Knight reaches level 833 and Baby level 832. I max Royal Shield and buy 34 Artesian Shields. Max the money again and both are level 853. I max Artesian Shield and buy 34 Onyx Shields. Another hour gets both of them to level 873. I max out Onyx Shields, getting everything from Garum and gaining 164 levels on the way. That just leaves Jungo, which I was saving for last due to Bonnick's expensive equipment. The last of my money gets me 31 Flame Swords. I get Knight to level 894 and Baby to 893. I max out Flame Swords and buy 31 Water Swords. Both of them reach level 917 and I max the Water Sword and buy 31 Gaian Swords. Then Knight gets to level 935 and Baby to level 934. I max out Gaian Swords and buy 31 Avian Swords. Level 955 for Knight and 954 for Baby. I max out Avian Swords and buy 31 Swords of Chaos. Both of them hit level 975. I max out Sword of Chaos and buy 32 Swords of Order. Knight reaches level 996 and Baby 995. I max out Sword of Order and buy 5 Platinum Swords with what's left. From now on, it'll take several money maxing sessions to max out just one of the Platinum equipment. So by the time I buy all 100 Platinum Swords, Knight is level 1119 and Baby's level 1118. Now on to Platinum Plates. When I had the money to buy all of them, Knight is level 1262 and Baby's level 1261. This time I get a little head start, as when it comes to buying the Platinum Helmets, I'm starting with over 800 grand. When I reach 100 Platinum Helmets, Knight is level 1387 and Baby level 1386. Just a Platinum Shield left now. And that ends with Knight at level 1509 and Baby at level 1508. I think I'm done, but then I remember that Jungo has a second weapon shop I used much earlier in the game. I max out the White Sword and buy 28 Broadswords. So it's back to farming money and I get Knight to level 1529 and Baby to level 1528. I max out Broadsword, Thunder Sword, Fire Sword and buy 74 White Armors. Another session and I get both of them to level 1549. I max out White Armor, Bone Plate, Thunder Plate, Fire Armor and buy 18 White Shields. Another session and Knight is level 1570 while Baby is level 1569. I max out the White Shield, Bone Shield, Thunder Shield and buy 71 Fire Shields. One more money maxing session and I get both of them to level 1590. I can finally max out the Fire Shield and that's every item that can be bought at the shop maxed out. But there are still other items to max out. The majority of this was done off screen. I finally used Baby's fetch option. This will send Baby out for a few seconds and he'll either come back with a random item or nothing, or sometimes he'll refuse to search. This allows me to get items that are either exclusive to enemy drops or would otherwise be unique. So that time I reset the game because I accidentally fed Baby the water ring, I can just get more through this. In the end I can get 100 of every item in the game except for the Chester Flute, Warp Gate Key and the Holy Armor pieces. There's even a few items only found through searching that have no gameplay function than to exist in the inventory. But this took several nights in a row just constantly telling Baby to fetch. According to the dates on my recordings, this took me 17 nights between 1 and 3 hours. What also slowed things down is that as this went on, Baby would refuse to fetch more and more often. Eventually Baby refused to go fetch completely relatively close to the end, so with around 200 items left to grab. Go fetch seems to lower his happiness, and once he runs out he refuses all go fetch requests. So I had to keep feeding him food to get him searching again. But as I needed only 30 more items to max out all items, successful searches became less and less common, and soon I'd be having entire feeding cycles without getting a single one. So I went back to grinding. I'd feed Baby a lot of platinum swords to bump up his stats, and then grind the money back as usual. Once I max out money once again, I'd use the build up of happiness for another long go fetch session. Or so I thought. It turns out gaining Baby 20 levels barely put up his happiness at all, and just force feeding him like 12 wooden helmets was more efficient. Of course, when I do get the final item, it's the one recording out of the 82 recording sessions that came out all fucked up, blurry and jittery, and I have no idea why. But through my 2.5 weeks of making Baby look for items, I also maxed out the long-legged bug, happy letter, sad letter, seashell, spring, lid, headless doll, record, bronze sword, buccaneer sword, sword of might, crystal sword, attack sword, twisted sword, Aztec sword, Zeus' sword, dark sword, miracle sword, great sword, bronze mail, buccaneer mail, Coldian armour, crystal armour, quilted armour, Obro armour, splint mail, dark plate, miracle armour, full plate, Zepeto helmet, bronze shield, tower shield, bone shield, crystal shield, twisted shield, Obro shield, devil shield, dark shield, miracle shield, steel shield, water ring, fire ring, wind ring and earth ring. And that's all I'm gonna do before finishing the game. I did consider trying for max levels and Baby stats, but considering getting to where I am took 150 hours, plus how inefficient raising Baby stats is with a cap of over 32,000, I had to admit defeat on that one. That's too far and would probably take me several hundred more hours. I admit I felt bad not going all that way, but on the other hand, how many people who've played this game got to level 1671? Well, to continue the plot I have to equip all the holy armour. The platinum stuff may be better, but I'm so far above everything right now that it no longer matters. I return to Picard and talk to Darkbeat. Darkbeat tries to put on the armour, but it won't let him. Maybe because it's already on my body, I have them equipped. Nahani suggests Knight try and it works for him. Turns out Darkbeat was never the chosen one, it was Knight, and then they suddenly teleport away. They're taken to a room where a figure looking similar to Knight is waiting. It's Darwin. After all the Guardians I had to face for his armour, the final test is to take on Darwin himself. The change in armour also changes Knight's attack animation, and his levels allow him to take out all 300 of Darwin's HP in one attack. His victory animation is changed too. Darwin says they have proven their worthiness and that Shizan is hiding in a storm cloud, preparing to rain down destruction on the planet. Darwin is going to use the last of his power to send us there. We then suddenly see Knight and Baby zooming through the sky at incredible speed. As we approach, Nahani spots Carmine. His attempts to control Shizan ended badly as Shizan saw his wounds and turned him into a monster. Just like how he turned Glor into a monster when Glor was no longer useful to him. But we don't have to waste our time with him, as Darkbeat and Ikki show up with a score to settle. Since he's still alive, Ikki still can't regain her human form. Darkbeat sends us off to take on Shizan while he fights Carmine. And so we get to watch one last automated fight between them. I respect that they made this new elaborate design for Carmine with all new attacks and animations for a battle we don't even get to play, but they wanted it to close this subplot out properly. Darkbeat and Ikki retain their move list from before, but Carmine now has an electric lance and can detach his new wings to shoot giant red electric balls. Although this does bring up the question of who's holding up Darkbeat here since Ikki's right next to him and they're fighting in the sky. However, we don't get to see the outcome of this battle as the screen fades out. As the party approach Shizan, Nahani decides to get a few things off her chest while she still has the chance. First asking if Knight can remember the day they first left Argo and saying how she can't believe how much they've been through since. That's always how I feel replaying certain RPGs and reliving the laid back beginnings after you've grown accustomed to the endgame stakes. She asks Knight if he remembers the day they met. Knight found her one day injured in the woods and took care of her, and she stayed with him since. She asks Knight whether they could have ever been more than friends if she was a human. She says she just wanted to know, but the battle with Shizan interrupts. Shizan has HP. Based on the sheer amount of damage I'm doing with every hit, I believe the battle is either scripted or Shizan has a level that scales to yours. Something also messed with Baby's AI and he started the battle attacking me. Shizan shows his level of threat by using his Haven's Wall, an eye laser that creates a huge fiery explosion around us. He can also whip with his tentacles. I actually use Gabriel here as well for that full heal, my massive PP making the full heal essentially free. I get to see a move that's never showed up from Baby, where he transforms into a massive glove and punches. Eventually Nahani says we just aren't damaging him. Baby tries talking to Knight, and on my next turn his command menu suddenly has a Guardian option. This is Baby's true final transformation, and one that can only be used here. Based on the shape, I assume this is what Baby looks like with his mother's full power. Baby has the seal technique, forming the same prison shape Shizan was trapped in before and throwing it at him. He also gains the move Final Charge, where he rams into Shizan at full strength. After enough damage, Shizan looks to be defeated and shrinks into the pyramid shape Baby put around him. Nahani celebrates over Shizan being sealed again and it all being over. We get the victory animation, but remember what that guy in Picard said last episode? That Shizan cannot be sealed away again, only destroyed completely? The seal is shattered and phase 2 begins. Shizan has now taken the form of some giant bat demon with a black hole stomach. Once again, Baby starts by headbutting me. This time I get pulling out some of the living toys I haven't used yet. First is Championo, rapidly punching Shizan for 257 hits and damage so high the counter rolled over and only said 107. Shizan has a blood-sucking move that heals himself for the amount of damage he deals. Next comes Legend, who charges through Shizan for just under 7,000 damage. Shizan follows up with his forbidden spell, Armageddon. It sucks in the party and blasts them all around the screen, instantly KOing both of them. Nahani desperately tries to wake Knight up, but he's not budging. Her only option is to use the Ring of Solomon. Remember the prophecy about Solomon in Picard about trading one life for another? Knight tries to stop her, but it doesn't work. She uses the ring, causing severe damage to Shizan. She appears before Knight the same size as him and they embrace, fully healing him. She also heals Baby but then fades away, leaving just the final phase of the battle to begin. As usual, Baby starts the battle attacking me. Shizan is now all withered, his black hole stomach gone too. I once again start with Championo, but Shizan still has powerful new attacks like Hell's Wind, dealing around 4,000 damage. I finally use Walk Bomb, where I learn I built up 6,000 damage in steps over the game. Baby uses another new attack, turning into a sword and cutting through Shizan. And then Legend comes out again, dealing the final blow. Shizan is destroyed completely. As his remains fade away, we get the credits, showing long pans of the places we visited. We get to see many of the people we've met, living in peace or celebrating Shizan's death. Even Chester makes a cameo after I practically dumped him once Baby could fly. Kalkanor and Ramal look to have recovered from their injuries. Aruvin still seems to be making zombies though, someone should probably do something about that. More importantly, we get to see who won the battle with Carmine, as we get to see Ikbi in her human form. And we end the game on a first-person view of someone walking through Orgor village to Knight's house. As we get to the door, we can see it's Baby as he knocks. Remember how the Solomon's Ring also supposedly makes dreams come true? Well, it granted Nahani's wish of becoming human. Now she and Knight live together as a couple, raising Baby as their own child. And isn't that just very nice? We don't always have to have a bittersweet aspect to the ending. Not that I want every game to be happy all the time, but sometimes it's nice to have a game end where everything's just nice. And I gotta say, this game is very simple, with simple gameplay, simple graphics, little difficulty and a simple story. But I really liked it. Those little bits there I mentioned before, like Zeppeto's subplot. Baby's just a really endearing sidekick. And I was surprised how likeable Nahani was for someone who was just supposed to be the silent hero's mouthpiece. To the point that, once again, them all finishing up as a family was just nice. I can see myself playing this game again in a similar way I do Final Fantasy IV, something when I just want to chill with an RPG and not have to put too much effort into. This dethroned State of Emergency as the most pleasant surprise I've had on this channel from a new game I'd never touched or heard of before. Hell, unlike that game, which I owned before starting these videos, this game is something I can thank making these videos for, as I discovered it specifically looking for a new game I could cover. And that's one of the reasons I started this channel, regain the motivation to playing through new games, whether I already owned them before or not.